Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I vlog daily to keep you updated on the real life situation in my country as this war with Russia continues for almost a year. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe because I believe the world needs to know more about Ukraine and our future victory. And before it happens, we need to be very attentive as Russia is not going to stop until it is completely punished for the actions and crimes it commits daily. And I want to speak about Moldova and the dangers that exist for this beautiful country. Well, first of all, Moldova is one of the states that borders Ukraine, and it has also experience of being occupied by Soviet Union. Moldova was one of the smallest but pretty important Soviet republics and was severely Russified. This is general politics. This was the main idea of Soviet Union, to Russify, pretending that you are working on the creation of Soviet people or something else. Anyway, it was always about growing Russia larger. And as you see, none of ex-Soviet republics wants back to the USSR, even Belarus, because there people protest against Lukashenko and he keeps his power only using police, other services. In general, none of the republics that was once the USSR wants to go back. It is only Russia who wants to recreate this monster and to let it live next to the European Union and the rest of the civilized world. So anyway, after Moldova became independent in 1991, it had lots of problems because of Russia. Russia, Soviet Union liked to, I don't know how to say it, but they liked to build in various conflicts. Often when they decided on the borders of the countries of the future republics, they were changing them, somehow hiding possible conflicts that they can use when they need in future. And in 1992, there was war between Russia and Moldova, but it was for the so-called Transnistria region, or a country as they claim to be. And it happened in 1992. It was not like a big war, but the so-called new republic appeared, Transnistria. It proclaimed its independence. In general, the conflict is not resolved, but something similar to Minsky treatments, peace talks were conducted, and Russians started supporting Transnistria. At the moment, it believes that it is independent, it has its own currency and its own misery, because the majority of so-called and financed by Russia republics like LNR, DNR and Transnistria, they exist. They do not develop into something normal even from the economical point of view. I'm not saying political or military or cultural, but even from economic point of view, they are not independent. So Transnistria is fully dependent on Russia, on Russian finance, on Russian political decisions, and it is a really long territory on the left bank of the Dniester River, pretty multinational, where lots of Ukrainians, Russians, Moldovans live, and they try to fuel various national conflicts inside of Transnistria, making it a problematic zone. And that's exactly what they did with LNR and DNR. Now in Transnistria region, they also have huge presence of Russian military troops, like protecting the independence of the so-called country, and also they have huge storages of old Soviet weapons there. So this is an important zone for them that they can use. Also, as I have already mentioned, Moldova was severely Russified, same as many other Soviet republics during the communist period. As a result, Communist Party was pretty popular for a long period of time there, and it was even in parliament. And also they have lots of pro-Russian politicians who were financed and who are financed from Russia. And the ex-president Dodon was famous for his pro-Russian positions. Also, Moldova is a place where many oligarchs are hiding. They have their own oligarchs, they have Russian oligarchs, and you know that all oligarchs are always for Putin, Russia, and this type of dictatorships that close eyes on inequality and support corruption in all possible ways. So all of these people, like pro-Russian financed politicians, oligarchs, various military criminals, they are in Moldova and they can spoil life to normal people. We have something similar in Ukraine, and I think they also encode many similar conflicts in other ex-Soviet or ex-socialist republics, and that is a problem. Luckily, not only for Moldova, but also for Ukraine and for European Union, present-day government, parliament, and the president Maya Sandu are definitely good people, pro-European people who stand for European values, democracy, freedom. But it's really difficult for them to work in such conditions when Russia is shaking the situation from outside. When I was thinking and collecting the facts, I felt like déjà vu, because this reminds me greatly what Russia did in Ukraine in times of so-called President Yanukovych, how they influenced our elections, how they bribed people and small regional, election committees and all of that to get the results they need, how they sent various oligarchs to build networks, open businesses, and Russify country from this extent, how they were stealing and buying our weapons, putting people who are ready to cooperate with Russia in various zones. For example, during Yanukovych time, who was a figure totally created by Putin, the minister of Defense was a Russian citizen. So can you imagine the Minister of Defense of independent Ukraine as a citizen of Russia? Like, he was hiding his citizenship, but there were lots of high-profile politicians in Ukrainian government who were Russian citizens and who were working for FSB, Putin, oligarchy, and all the other rotten Russian spheres and institutions. So something similar may be happening in Moldova, and it's really great that at the moment of this war, Maya Sandu is the president. Though at the beginning I was a little bit angry at Moldova for their passiveness. They were not speaking loudly about Ukraine, but now I do understand this is a small country, they don't have a big army, and they try to maneuver, but they always make correct decisions. And now Ukraine and Moldova are walking together the path to the European Union, as we've received the candidate status together. And it is very important that two of our countries work hand in hand and move in one direction. And Russians realize that this is a problem. That's why their task is to do everything they can to stop European integration of Moldova and, of course, European integration of Ukraine, and to try to cause some other problems, thus making us stay in the shadow of that dying, ugly Russian monster. And also, what is a problem that the population of Moldova, as far as I understand, also has different opinions, and for example, not many of them support NATO. If I'm mistaken, please correct me, because I know I have many beautiful subscribers from Moldova, and I'm sending you my greetings and all my respect. But in Ukraine, we had similar situation. Now more and more people support the idea of NATO, and I hope that NATO will support the idea of Ukraine inside of the alliance in future. And recently, President Zelensky and Danilov spoke about the information we received from the intelligence services that Russians were trying to prepare a coup or something similar in Moldova, trying to put pro-Russian politicians. You have to understand that Russians do not always use war as an instrument to get what they want. In Ukraine, for 2 times, they tried to falsify our elections and to put pro-Russian presidents, pro-Russian political parties into parliament by falsifying the results of these elections, by bribing people, by organizing paid meetings, strikes, and so on. A similar mechanism they always try first, because like war is always problematic, expensive, and this is the last step that they have decided to take, because Ukraine was strong and our civil society was always active, and they did not manage to accomplish what they wanted. So they did not have a choice, and they had to start this full-scale war. In Moldova, perhaps they will try doing it in disguise, and like supporting and financing pro-Russian political parties, media, putting various oligarchs in charge of various Russian schemes. And something that they succeeded with in Belarus. Like, they have managed to occupy this country silently, because now Lukashenko's regime is nothing else than the occupation of Belarus. And all the materials that we have, our intelligence services have, we have given them to Maya Sandu, the president of Moldova, and she acknowledged that she received them. Of course, this is top secret and we cannot know the details, but it's good that this information is known now. And I am sure that the government of Moldova will react and protect the democratic choice of its people and the freedom and independence of this country. In general, it is pretty obvious that Russians continue working on their plan, which demonstrates that sanctions, for example, they don't work. And we don't have to be afraid to escalate something, because Russians are constantly escalating them, for example, by planning to hijack Moldova. This is nothing else but escalation, and they have many plans for many other countries. We have to keep that in mind. It's not just about Ukraine. Like, if you cross so many red lines, you are ready to destroy the world if you threaten it with nuclear weapons. So we have to understand that it is Putin who is constantly escalating. And as I have received a very nice email with this, like, you cannot blame people for escalation if these are the people who protect themselves. We are fighting on the territory of Ukraine. We have never crossed the border to Russian. We are fighting for our territory, which was ours for like centuries. And the only thing that we want is orcs to leave us alone and let us build our free democratic problem with pluses and minuses, problems and success, but our own independent way. And the same for other ex-Soviet republics that are always in danger, because Soviet Union in Putin's head exists and he wants to recreate it. And his first plan when he started this full-scale war was to quickly take Ukrainian South, unite it with Transnistria, because Moldova and we have border close to Odessa region, to unite it all, perhaps to proclaim Russia on that territory, and then it's not difficult to take over the rest of the Moldova territory. And despite this really courageous and serious fight that we have here in Ukraine, and that we've managed to stop them, we've managed to ruin their blitzkrieg plans and so on, they continue working on their vision. They still see it as possible, maybe like within a year or two, to achieve what they want, to unite Ukrainian South with Transnistria and thus later to take over Moldova. I am 100% confident they will not make it. But they can spoil lots of lives, they can kill lots of people trying to achieve that. And our task is to be united. And I want to tell that having this experience, realizing how important global support is, I can guarantee, and I'm sure our president and our Ukrainian armed forces will guarantee, that we will fight for Moldova if it's needed. We will provide you with all the knowledge that we have. And only together we can fight back this monster. And Russia is a real monster, is a real terrorist that is dying, but while agonizing, it wants to poison all the territories that were once occupied, either by Russian Empire or by its hair Soviet Union. They will not make it because such primitive evil, misery, hatred, poverty cannot take over normal territories and normal minds. But they are definitely spoiling our lives for more than a year. So prepare your questions for my question and answer live session. I cannot say I will be happy to discuss with you a year of war in Ukraine. I will be happy to discuss with you our victory, and I hope it will come soon. But there are many important things that I can share and you can ask. Thank you so much for your support, for your advice, kind words. Thank you for buying me coffees and becoming my patrons and helping my channel develop. If you're new, please subscribe. And if you celebrate St. Valentine's Day, then be happy and feel all the love that is needed, because it is one of the most important feelings, and if not the most important feeling. Love can be different to your motherland, to your partner, to your dog, but any type of love is very, very important. So I love you all. I very much value your support and understanding, and Slava Ukraini!